Oh, hey there, everyone. Homer Simpson here, and boy, do I have something to tell you. You know, for years, people have been saying my show predicts the future. At first, I thought they were crazy. Like that time, I thought I could eat a whole ham in one sitting. Wait, I did do that. Anyway, turns out maybe these prediction things are actually real, and some of them are happening right now in 2026. So grab yourself a Duff beer, get comfortable on the couch, and let me tell you about all the crazy stuff that's going on. So, here's the thing. The Simpsons has been on TV for over 3 decades now. We've made more than 750 episodes, which is a lot of episodes, even for a guy who watches TV as much as I do. With that many episodes, you'd think some stuff would accidentally match up with real life, right? Like how I accidentally fixed the toaster that one time. But what's happening now is too weird to ignore. Some of the things we showed on our show years and years ago are actually coming true in 2026. And I'm not talking about simple stuff like predicting donuts would still be delicious. I'm talking about serious, scary, world-changing events. Let me start with something that's freaking everyone out right now. Back in 1993, we did this episode called Margin Chains. Great episode, if I do say so myself. In that episode, there's this factory worker over in Osaka, Japan, and he's got the flu. But does he stay home and rest like a normal person? Nope. He's packing boxes and coughing all over them because he doesn't want to lose his job. The guy literally says he's been working with a shattered pelvis for 3 weeks. Now that's dedication or stupidity. I can never tell the difference. Anyway, this sick worker coughs all over this juice loosener thing that gets shipped to Springfield. When it arrives at my house, I open it up, and boom, I get the flu. Then everyone else who bought the same product gets sick too. Before you know it, the whole town has what they called the Osaka flu. People are panicking, demanding cures, and the mayor cancels his vacation to the Bahamas, which honestly seems like the real tragedy here. Now fast forward to right now, 2026. Cities all across America are dealing with this super flu outbreak. They're calling it the H3N2 variant, and it's spreading faster than rumors about free donuts at Lard Lads. New York, New Jersey, Colorado, Louisiana, they're all getting hit hard. Hospitals are filling up with sick people, and doctors are saying they've never seen a flu spread this quickly before. Some people are even calling it the super flu, just like how our show had the Osaka flu. The similarities are kind of creepy when you think about it. In our episode, a virus comes from Asia and spreads through shipped products. In real life, this flu variant emerged and spread across the northern hemisphere. In our show, Springfield had over 300 cases, and everyone freaked out. In the real world, major cities are seeing record numbers of people getting hospitalized every single week. We showed this over 30 years ago. I mean, sure, it could be a coincidence, but it's a pretty specific coincidence, you know? It's not like we predicted the sun would rise or that I'd want another beer. Those things are obvious. But wait, there's more. And this is where things get really interesting. Our show didn't just predict a pandemic. We also warned everyone about robots and artificial intelligence taking over. And guess what? That's happening too. Right now in 2026. There was this episode we did in 2006 called BI Artificial Intelligence. Stupid Bart tried to jump from a window into the pool, which is exactly the kind of dumb thing Bart would do, and he ended up in a coma. Marge and I were so upset that we got this robot boy named David to replace him. I know. That sounds terrible when I say it out loud, but it made sense at the time. This robot kid was polite, did his chores, never talked back, basically everything Bart isn't. Before long, we liked the robot better than our actual son. When Bart woke up from his coma, he asked if we replaced him with a robot, and we said we upgraded. Looking back, that was pretty harsh. The point is, the episode showed how easy it is for people to accept robots into their homes and lives, how quickly they become part of the family, how they can replace real human connections without anyone really thinking about what that means, And that's exactly what's happening now. In 2026, smart homes are everywhere. I'm talking everywhere. About 80% of homes have artificial intelligence running things. People have these Alexa devices answering questions, robot vacuums, cleaning floors, smart refrigerators that know when you're out of milk. Everything is controlled by AI now. Companies like Tesla are even making these humanoid robots that regular people will be able to buy soon. Can you imagine a robot that looks like a person just walking around your house? What's next, Robot Flanders? Actually, that might be an improvement. But here's where it gets darker, like that tunnel under the plant where I'm not supposed to go. We did another episode in 2012 called Them Robot, where Mr. Burns, my cheapskate boss, decides to replace all the workers at the nuclear plant with robots. Why? Because robots don't need health insurance or bathroom breaks. He keeps me around as the only human worker, but only as a scapegoat in case something goes wrong. The robots learn from us, we train them to do our jobs, and then they replace us. Sound familiar? That's exactly how artificial intelligence works in real life. AI learns from human data and human work, and then it takes over the jobs. By the end of that episode, the robots turn evil and start chasing us through Springfield trying to eliminate all impediments, which is robot talk for killing humans. At the time, it was funny. Now it's less funny and more like a documentary. Right now, in 2026, AI is replacing jobs faster than I can eat a box of donuts. And I can eat a box of donuts pretty fast. About 77% of companies are already using AI or trying to figure out how to use it. By the end of this year, 80% of big companies will have AI applications running things. That's a huge jump from just a few years ago. And when it comes to actual robots, 71% of organizations are either using them now or planning to use them very soon. Half of all businesses already have robots working for them. Think about that. We're seeing AI waiters in restaurants, self-driving taxis that don't need human drivers, Amazon using AI drones instead of delivery people. All these jobs that used to be done by humans are now being done by machines. And the scary part? 41% of companies say they're planning to fire workers and replace them with AI by 2030. That's only 4 years away. Even that guy who helped invent AI, Jeffrey Hinton, is warning people about it. He says if AI becomes smarter than us, there's no way we can stop it from getting rid of us if it wants to. He said if you want to know what life is like when you're not the apex intelligence, ask a chicken. That's not exactly comforting. Our show predicted this over a decade ago. We showed workers training their replacements. We showed robots turning against humans. We showed a future where people become obsolete. And now in 2026, it's all coming true. Makes you think, doesn't it? Well, it makes Marge think. I mostly just worry about where my next meal is coming from. Speaking of things that seemed impossible, let's talk about virtual reality. Back in the year 2000, we did an episode called Bart to the Future, where my family is eating food while wearing VR headsets. We're experiencing tastes and sensations that aren't even real. At the time, virtual reality was this clunky, primitive thing that barely worked. But we saw where it was heading. And now in 2026, VR technology has absolutely exploded. That Mark Zuckerberg guy says we haven't even begun to see what VR can really do, and apparently he's right. There are companies now that have created VR experiences that actually change how your brain perceives taste. You can experience flavors you've never had before, all through a headset. A company called Aeromix made this technology that literally alters your taste perception. It's like tricking your brain into thinking you're eating something you're not. I mean, if they could make vegetables taste like pork chops, I'd be all over that. But just like we showed in our episode, there's a dark side to all this VR stuff. We had people on our show getting injured while wearing VR goggles because they couldn't tell the difference between the virtual world and reality. They'd walk into walls, trip over furniture, hurt themselves because they forgot they were still in the real world. And guess what? In 2026, VR injuries are becoming more and more common. People are walking into walls, falling down stairs, seriously hurting themselves because they're too immersed in their virtual reality. The line between what's real and what's not is getting blurry, exactly like we warned everyone about. And then there's space tourism. In a 1994 episode, we showed space tourism being offered to regular civilians like me. At the time, going to space was something only astronauts and scientists did. The idea that regular people could just buy a ticket to space seemed absolutely ridiculous. But here we are in 2026, and space tourism is actually real. We're going back to the moon. Companies are building commercial space stations that will have hotels in space. Actual hotels, floating up there in orbit. Jeff Bezos and his Blue Origin company are planning to send regular people to space. Richard Branson and Virgin Galactic are doing the same thing. And here's the really weird part. We actually showed Richard Branson going to space in one of our episodes 7 years before he actually did it in real life. 7 years! How did we know that? Did one of our writers have a crystal ball? Did they make a deal with some kind of time-traveling wizard? Rocket launches are happening all the time now. Private companies are making space accessible to everyone, or at least everyone who can afford it, which definitely doesn't include me on my nuclear safety inspector salary. What we showed as a joke 3 decades ago is now just normal everyday life. Well, not every day for me. The only thing I'm launching is myself off the couch to get another snack. Look, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how we predicted all this stuff. Maybe our writers are really smart and good at seeing trends before they happen. Maybe it's just probability, and with 750 episodes, some things were bound to match up eventually. Or maybe, just maybe, there's something else going on that I don't understand. I mean, I barely understand how the toaster works, so my opinion might not count for much. But what I do know is that these predictions keep coming true. From pandemics to AI takeovers to space tourism, things we showed on our animated TV show are becoming real life. And if that doesn't make you stop and think, well, then you're not paying attention. Or you're like me, and you're too busy thinking about dinner. Remember how I said there were darker, scarier predictions? Well, I wasn't kidding. We're talking about economic collapse, nuclear war, and some other stuff that makes me want to reach for a comfort donut. Actually, I always want to reach for a comfort donut, but you get what I mean. Let's start with money problems, because nothing says fun like talking about financial disaster, right? Back in the year 2000, we did this episode called Bart to the Future, where Lisa becomes president of the United States. In her first speech as president, she says we inherited a huge budget crisis from President Trump. She literally says the country is broke. Now, this episode came out in 2000, 16 years before Trump even became president for real. We predicted he'd be president, and we predicted his presidency would lead to economic problems. The president part already came true back in 2016, so everyone knows about that prediction. But the economic collapse part? That might be happening right now. Trump got inaugurated for his second term in January 2025. And here we are in 2026, and economists are freaking out. Investment is going down. Job growth is slowing. Inflation is still high, even though people keep saying they're trying to fix it. The United States has printed trillions and trillions of dollars in recent years, and a lot of experts think we're heading straight for a major financial crisis. Our show said this would happen during Trump's time in office. We're in Trump's time in office right now. The warning signs are everywhere. We predicted this 26 years ago. That's longer than Bart has been in 4th grade, and he's been in 4th grade for a really long time. Now let me talk about something even scarier. World War III. Yeah, you heard me right. Over the years, our show has made a bunch of references to World War III. In a 1997 episode, I'm shown as the only survivor of a nuclear blast, which honestly seems about right given my luck. But it goes even further back than that. One of the very first Simpsons episodes ever aired in 1987 during the Cold War and it was called World War III. In that episode, I'm terrified that World War III is about to start. I'm yelling at everyone to wake up and get down to the fallout shelter because the bombs are dropping. Back then, during the Cold War, nuclear war was something people genuinely worried about. It was a real fear. Now in 2026, a lot of experts are saying we're in a second Cold War. Tensions between the United States, Russia, and China are getting worse and worse. Right now, 4 different nuclear powers are threatening to use nuclear weapons. 4! Russia used a nuclear-capable missile to strike Ukraine on January 8th, just a few days ago. China's been doing all these military exercises around Taiwan, and people are saying China might invade Taiwan this year. North Korea keeps working on their nuclear program like it's some kind of hobby. And then there's Iran. Trump said, if Iran starts shooting, the U.S. will start shooting too. So that's just great. Really comforting stuff. Some experts are even saying World War III has already started and we just don't realize it yet. There's more talk about using nuclear weapons now than at any time since the Cold War ended. Our show depicted nuclear devastation multiple times. We showed cities destroyed, people hiding in shelters, the whole apocalypse scenario. In 2026, that possibility feels way too real. And let me tell you, as someone who works at a nuclear power plant, this hits a little too close to home. Although, to be fair, I probably shouldn't be the one in charge of nuclear safety anyway. Speaking of things that seemed ridiculous, let's talk about Greenland. Yeah, Greenland. In a 2002 episode called Blame It on Lisa, I'm wearing this t-shirt that shows Uncle Sam biting into the earth. Uncle Sam represents the U.S. military, and on the shirt, he's biting right into Greenland. The shirt even says, "Try and stop us." At the time, this was absurd satire. Why would America want Greenland? It's cold, it's covered in ice, and there's probably not even a decent donut shop there. But now, in 2026, President Trump keeps saying America needs to own Greenland. He says we need it for national security, and that we have to have it. He's even said America will get Greenland the easy way or the hard way. If we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way. That's pretty much exactly what my t-shirt said, "Try and stop us." Greenland is owned by Denmark, and Denmark keeps saying the territory is not for sale, but Trump doesn't seem to care. Some sources are even suggesting that an invasion of Greenland could happen before July 2026. I don't know if that'll actually happen, but the fact that we're even talking about invading Greenland shows how weirdly accurate our show was. We showed American aggression toward Greenland 24 years before it became a real political issue. How does that even happen? Did our writers have some kind of magic 8-ball that actually works? Now let's talk about self-driving cars, which sound cool in theory but are turning out to be kind of dangerous. In one of our episodes, I get into a self-driving car, but the car malfunctions and won't stop. It just keeps driving and driving while I'm screaming and panicking. Classic Homer situation, really. In 2026, self-driving cars are everywhere. There are these Waymo self-driving taxis operating in cities. Tesla has that full self-driving technology in hundreds of thousands of cars. But just like we predicted, these cars are causing serious problems. There have been crashes, some of them fatal. People have actually died because these autonomous vehicles didn't detect things in the road. In one case, a guy got trapped inside a self-driving taxi and couldn't get out while the car just kept driving around. That's like a horror movie. China has slowed down production of self-driving cars after multiple fatal crashes happened on their roads. But despite all these problems, the number of autonomous vehicles is expected to double this year. Double. That means we're probably going to see even more accidents and more problems. Our show warned everyone about this, but did anyone listen? Nope. They just kept making more and more self-driving cars. Okay, let me talk about something that's actually kind of cool, instead of terrifying. 3D printed food. In a 2011 episode called The Food Wife, my family eats 3D printed food. Back then, this seemed like total science fiction. Food coming out of a printer? That's crazy talk. But in 2026, 3D printed food is real and it's going mainstream. Experts are saying that 3D food printing is going to become widely available this year. You just put in the ingredients and the printer makes whatever food you want. This could actually be really helpful in places where there are droughts and crops can't grow. These printers can make protein-rich foods using stuff like algae and other plants. What our show presented as a joke 15 years ago is now technology that could save lives and change how people eat. Although I still prefer my food the old-fashioned way, cooked by someone else and delivered to my couch. And then there's flying cars. In a 2005 episode called Future Drama, Bart and I are driving a flying car through Springfield. Flying cars have always been the symbol of the future that never arrives. Everyone jokes about how we were supposed to have flying cars by now. Well, guess what? We do. In 2026, the first commercial flying car is entering production. It's called the Aleph Model A. It's an all-electric flying car, and production already started in California. The first deliveries are happening this year. Flying cars are real now. They exist. You can buy one if you have $300,000 lying around, which I definitely don't. But still, our show predicted this 21 years ago. Soon, people will be flying over traffic instead of sitting in it, like normal people. Although, knowing my luck, I'd probably crash it into a tree. Let me tell you about Mars next, because apparently we're colonizing other planets now. In a 2016 episode called The Marge Ian Chronicles, the government is looking for volunteers to move to Mars. The episode shows a future where Mars is fully colonized by the United States. When that episode came out, colonizing Mars seemed impossible. But then Elon Musk came along and announced his plans to actually do it. In late 2026, SpaceX is launching their first mission to Mars without any crew on board. They might send robots like that Optimus thing to explore. Musk says human landings could happen as early as 2028, which means America could start colonizing Mars by 2030. The timeline in our episode matches up almost perfectly with Musk's plan to have 1 million people living on Mars by 2050. President Trump even said he wants an American flag planted on Mars. We showed this future 10 years ago, and now it's actually happening. Now here's something that genuinely scares me. Black holes. In a 2013 episode, a black hole appears in Springfield and starts sucking everything inside. It was a Treehouse of Horror episode, so it was supposed to be scary and funny. But now, not so funny. On January 9th, just last week, scientists discovered new active black holes. On January 3rd, they captured the first ever image of two black holes circling each other. They're finding black holes in places where they didn't think black holes could exist. But here's the really scary part. Scientists are trying to create black holes here on Earth using something called the Large Hadron Collider at CERN. They want to make these tiny micro black holes so they can study them. A lot of scientists are worried that these micro black holes could grow and start swallowing everything up, just like what happened in our episode. They say it's safe, but they also said the Hindenburg was safe, and we all know how that turned out. Actually, I don't know how that turned out, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't good. And finally, let's talk about aliens. In a 1997 episode called The Springfield Files, FBI agents come to Springfield to investigate claims of alien life. It was a parody of The X-Files. But in 2026, the government is basically admitting that UFOs are real. They call them UAPs now, unidentified aerial phenomena, probably because UFO sounds too scary. The Pentagon has confirmed UAPs exist. The 2026 defense budget includes 3 new UFO provisions. There's a new bill that forces the military to tell people when, where, and how they intercepted a UAP. Congress wants to know why all this UAP information is so secretive. Whistleblowers who talk about UAPs are now protected by law. This means we might actually see the government confirm that alien life exists this year. Our show joked about this 29 years ago, and now it might actually be real. So there you have it. Economic collapse, World War III, self-driving car accidents, black holes, aliens, all of it predicted by a cartoon show about a dysfunctional family in Springfield. Are these predictions just coincidences? Maybe. With over 750 episodes, some things are bound to match up with reality. But the number of accurate predictions is getting really hard to ignore. Maybe our writers are just really good at understanding social trends. Maybe they pay attention to what scientists and experts are saying and exaggerate it for comedy. Or maybe they know something the rest of us don't. I'm just a cartoon character who eats too many donuts and causes nuclear meltdowns, so what do I know? But I do know this. If our show keeps predicting the future this accurately, maybe people should start paying more attention to what happens in Springfield. And if we ever do an episode where beer becomes illegal, I'm moving to Canada or Mars, whichever has better donuts.